They also, after they visited me and my son, they went shopping. They didn't bring a gift or anything for me, but they did bring me flowers, which was nice. But they did leave the hospital and they went shopping. Not for a long time, I don't believe, because like I said, they showed up and it was like evening, so they probably spent like a couple hours maybe at like one of their favorite malls here in Nashville. It's a luxury mall. So that was in true fashion. Fun fact, every single time that they've come to visit me or my son in Nashville, they've always went shopping after. Always. And no, they didn't get me anything. I also didn't ask for anything, especially after I had my son, because I was like, I'm an adult. I have a kid. Like, if they want to get me something, awesome. But I'm a grown woman. If you're grown enough to have a child, you're going to take care of yourself and that child. So didn't really ask them for anything. But yeah, that's something they always did. So yeah, they went shopping and then went back to Huntsville, and I didn't receive a call or text or anything for a while. Like, none of them called or texted, but my dad didn't call. And this is the man who said he wanted a relationship with my son, remember? But he didn't call or text or check up on me, really at all. I can recall him sending maybe like 2 or 3 text messages to me, and he made a cute little like birth card or something for my son, but that was like the long and short of it. And like that was it. The next time he saw my son is when I went down to go and visit per his request. He asked if I could come and bring the baby. I went and brought my son so he could see him. And even though my dad said he wanted a relationship with my son, 90% of that effort was put on me. So he asked if I could come down. He never once came up to visit us, unless it was my son's birthday. And that was rare. He has not been there for all of my son's birthdays. He has been there for all of my niece's birthdays. But he hasn't been there for all of my son's birthdays. But yeah, if he said he wanted the relationship, but 90% of that went back on me because I had to come down there. I had to make that effort. And even though, him saying that, it's kind of like, just nice words, essentially, it was still good to hear. And I held on tight to that. I held on tight to him saying, I want a relationship with your son. Because, in my girl mind, it was, I want a relationship with your son, and I love you so much. Like, it was like, oh, we're a package deal, like, oh, you want both of us. So at the time when he asked me to come and visit with my son, I was still in college. I had not finished school yet. So I was busy and I was hustling. So I had clinical rotations, I had classes, I had a student job. I was a promotional model for Speakeasy Distillery on the weekends. I also worked part-time as a project coordinator for Optum Healthcare. So a girl was busy, okay? I was very busy because I was a parent. Like, I had a child in daycare. I had to pay for that daycare. Daycare was $250, a week. And, it was a big struggle for me in school. And I remember joking around with my dad one day, and I was like, oh, it'd be so nice since you guys, own a childcare facility. It'd be so nice if I could just move down there and have the daycare for free and then kind of finish up everything, because, that would take so much off of me. And I just remember him laughing. He's like, yeah, that would be nice, but We're not going to open up anything in Nashville. Didn't ask if you were, but smart enough to know. I'm smart enough to know that let me not tug at that, because I knew that would probably be like a fight, because whether or not he heard me or understood kind of what I was trying to say, his response told me everything I needed to know, that that would not be a viable option for me to relocate my life and myself down there for free childcare. So yeah, girl was working, had to pay for daycare, had to pay for everything. My parents up here definitely like helped me, but like I said, I'm a grown woman. I have a child. I have to work and pay for that. So all of that to say, money was tight. And my requirement to come down and visit once a month was he had to pay for my gas when I'd go home. So, I drive down there, but when it was time for me to go home, fill up my tank. And if we went out to eat anywhere, he had to pay for me. Those are my two requirements. I don't care what anyone thinks about that or says about that. I was hustling. I was working. Me coming down and putting forth that effort to visit him and do all of that with my child, I was like, the minimum you could do is this for me. So, that's what I asked for, and he actually accommodated me for a little while. I don't recall what my dad did for a living when I was like 20, 21, 22, but I think he worked as the CFO at my stepmom's business. But because he did that, he was around more. So when I would come and visit them, I'm not an early riser by any means, but I would get up around like 8 a.m. I would take my shower, I'd get myself and my son ready for the day, and then we would go downstairs and watch TV and play and everything and wait for everybody to wake up. Everyone in that household did not wake up until like 11-ish every weekend day. That's just what that was their schedule. My circadian rhythm could not handle that, but that was their schedule. Now my bio dad, he would wake up earlier than I would, and he would leave the house, he would go to the gym, he'd come back. When he'd come back, he'd go into their bedroom, go shower, do all the things, and then he'd come out and make breakfast. And that was nice because around like 10-15 minutes of him making breakfast, it was just like me, him, and my son. And we weren't really like talking a lot, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't, he spent more time like playing with my son and like cooking and like holding him while like making the eggs and everything. And I would just, talk to him about, random things. But it was still nice because it was just a few minutes of every morning where I got to, it was quieter. I got to spend a little time, I guess. Even though he was pretty much spending time with the baby, but still I was there. So, there's that. And it was just nice to see him interacting with my son. So I appreciated that. Around that time, my stepbrother was engaged to his first wife, and she asked me to be in the wedding, so I was in their wedding. And I started visiting a lot more because of the wedding and everything. So my frequency of visiting went from like once a month to like twice a month, and sometimes 3 times. And I don't know if that was beneficial for me and my attempts to kind of cultivate relationships with anyone in that family. I think maybe I was coming around too much. But things kind of went downhill shortly after he married his first wife for me and my dad, and honestly just the rest of the family. So around that time, my car got broken into. Someone like busted my window out and stole some stuff, and it sucked. It happened in front of their house. I was parked in front of their house, and they were super apologetic about it and offered to pay for my window. And I was so happy because, like I said, I was still in school and I was hustling, and me trying to spend money on a new window was not it. It was not it for me. So I was really excited that they said that they would pay for the window. And I was like shocked and surprised because paying for anything for me was not a norm, was not a standard. I got child support. So, yeah, not a standard for me. So I was really happy about that. And at the time when my car got broken into, they lived in a smaller home in Madison. It's not the home that you'll see on the show. If anybody that's watching this watches their show that they're on, the reality show, it was not the home that they lived in. They lived in a smaller, not a small home, but a smaller home, like 2,500 square feet, beautiful home. And that's where my car got broken into. And then flash forward, the next weekend I came down because I was still looking for, because they hadn't given me like the money to pay for the window. So my window was still busted out. So the next weekend I came down. So the next weekend when I came down, pulled up to their house. I'm sorry, I'm going to get through this. I pulled up to their house, the house that they'd been living in for a few years, and all the lights were out. And this was like around fall time. So it was like evening when I got there, or pre-evening, so like around 4 p.m. But the lights were out and it was getting dark outside. So at first, like, I was just sitting there and I was like, let me give it like 5 minutes because they said they'd be home real quick. So, because I called and I was like, hey, where are you guys at? I'm at the house. Nobody's here. And my dad was like, oh, we'll be home shortly. They are never on time for anything. They probably won't even be on time for their own funerals one day. But anyway, sat there for like, 5-10 minutes. And then I was like, okay, like, where are y'all? I'm not trying to sit in this car with my child. And my bio dad said, meet us at Home Depot. Cool. Gave me the address, drove over to Home Depot. So I met them there, and they had 2 buggies at Home Depot. And they had, I cannot tell you how many sets of blinds, like window blinds. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And they're like, oh, we need blinds for the house. And I was like, how many windows do y'all have in this house? Like, good Lord, you're replacing all of them? And my dad started laughing, and he was like, well, we don't really have any blinds right now. So then I'm thinking, and I'm like, yes, they do. Like, okay, whatever. Y'all are getting blinds. So they're getting blinds. You're getting some other stuff. Get to the register, and they spent like $2,000 at Home Depot. Now, why am I telling you they spent $2,000 at Home Depot? Stay with me. Okay, so they spent like $2,000 at Home Depot. Oh my God, the glare is back. So they spent all this money at Home Depot, and then they were like, okay, we're going home. So I was like, okay, awesome. So I was just like, I'll follow you guys, because I didn't know where I was at. Like, I don't live in Huntsville. I know my way around somewhat, but I didn't know how to get back to the house from Home Depot. So I was like, I'll just follow them instead of putting it in MapQuest or whatever we were using at that time. I don't know. So I followed them back, and then we pull up to this massive, beautiful home. And I'm just like, why are we here? Like, what the heck? Get out of my car. They get out of their car. They start unloading. And I was like, whose house is this? And they're like, oh, it's our house. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, this is gorgeous. Nice. Like, when did you guys move? They're like, oh, we just moved and everything. And I was like, oh, wow. I was like, this is gorgeous. So we're in the house where, they're unloading all their stuff. And then I'm thinking, they just spent all this money at Home Depot. They just bought this house. It's clearly somewhere in the millions. Why Why haven't they given me the money that they said they'd give me for my window? Didn't bring that up, didn't say anything about it, didn't want any smoke. I brought it up when I left, when I was leaving, and I was like, hey, like, are you guys gonna like give me the money for my window back here? Riding around with this busted window and I have a child. So, I mean, if you're not gonna pay for it, just like let me know. And I gotta figure that out, but like, let me know. My dad assured me, we're gonna give you the money for it. We're gonna pay for it. Fast forward to around my brother's like wedding festivities, like the rehearsal, all that kind of stuff. And in between me leaving for that visit and coming back for, you know, the wedding rehearsal visit type thing, my dad in Nashville went and got my window fixed for me. They paid for it. They went and got it fixed. Super happy. And then I just drove up to their house with my fixed window. They didn't acknowledge it, so I didn't say anything. But I was very upset with my dad because he promised that he would pay for it, and we had already had, like, you know, a very rocky relationship. So it was disappointing and hard, especially with me being a single mom at the time and, you know, believing the words that he was saying in regards to helping. So that was really disappointing. And something I forgot to kind of mention through like my teen years, and my childhood too, there were several times where my dad would promise to pick me up, and I'd be that stereotypical kid waiting on the steps with their suitcase, waiting for their dad who never showed up. There were countless times that he promised to come to a cheerleading game. He promised to come to, he made a lot of promises. He's never kept one for me. And it just started to like hit different when I was a single mom, a young adult. I would get mad when I was a teenager and block the whole family, and then I wouldn't talk to him and I wouldn't talk to the family. And, you know, there were years that my dad didn't reach out to me. There were years that I didn't see him or the family. And that was like a big straw that broke a camel's back for me when they were in the midst of paying for my stepbrother's wedding and all his wedding festivities. They had just purchased a huge house, and he couldn't keep a promise to repair my window. So that was hard, and that was a lot. And all the times that, you know, I went years without talking to him, from like teenage to young adult, was because of something that he promised, and then it fell through. And then I'd get upset, I'd go off, I'd yell, we'd fight, I'd block him, I'd block the family. We wouldn't talk for months, sometimes years. And that was a repeated pattern for my whole life. That was just a repeated pattern, from like age 16 up. Like that was just the standard. So yeah, he didn't pay for that, and I was really upset. And then I was coming up on like my last semester of college, and I had quit one of my jobs. So I quit the project coordinator job just because I couldn't handle the workload anymore, and I didn't want to get fired. So I just went ahead and quit. But because of doing that, you know, that put like a break in, you know, the money that was coming in. Money was already tight, so me not having that money coming in really sucked. And I did that like right before my brother, I did that right before the weekend of my brother's first wedding. And when I did that, I asked my dad, I said, look, I just quit my job. I have one more semester left. I feel like I'm losing my mind. I'm anxious all the time. I'm missing a lot with my son because I'm overworked. I'm tired. So, I talked to my parents in Nashville and they thought it was a good idea for me to quit that job. So I did quit, but I am now going to have a hard time paying for my books for the last semester. And it was like, I don't know, $500, $700 for my books. And I asked my dad, I said, can you loan me the money for my books? So I asked him for the money for my books, and I said, look, I will pay you back. Like, when I say a loan, I mean a loan. My parents in Nashville have given me loans and I've paid them back. You can call them, you can ask them, like I have. And I don't want to keep asking them because I already live with them and they're already doing so much for me and my son. And I would really appreciate if you could loan me $700. And then I said, because I'm serious about paying you back, if you want to write something up or I write something up and then we go get it notarized so that if I don't pay you back, you could come after me, which I hope you wouldn't, but you can come after me. Like, yes, like I am totally fine with that, but I would appreciate more than anything if you could give me this loan. I'm having this conversation with my biological father, and then my stepmom hears, and she said, we don't have it right now. We just bought this house. We are paying for your brother's wedding. We don't have that right now. When I tell you I was furious, I was furious. I didn't talk to them for I don't know how many years. Maybe 3. Like, I was furious, and I was done at that point with the relationship because I was like, that's ridiculous. That I am asking for a loan. You guys have kids here that still live with you, that you guys pay for everything. And I don't really know the dynamic of, but you pay for everything for them. I'm asking you for a loan. I will pay you back. We can get this notarized. If you have to come after me and sue me, which I did not think my dad would do, but I was like, I wouldn't put it past my stepmom. But I was like, I'm okay with that. I will pay you back the $700. And they didn't do it, and I was furious. Something I forgot to talk about, because there's so much to get through with my biological father. When I was 18 and went off to school in Missouri, I talked about that earlier, my mom took my dad to court for unpaid child support. She took him to court, and like his option was to like pay like a huge lump sum of money and then start like paying the payments again, or go to jail. So he got that money because I was told this by my stepmom. She loaned him or gave him that money to give to my mother so that he would not have to go to jail. And that was $20,000. Did you hear me? It was a legal obligation to keep my dad out of jail for child support. My mom, before she took him to court, asked me, hey, this is what I think I want to do when it comes to your dad because he has not paid child support. You got into a very great school. It's a private school. It is very expensive. This is what I want to do. Are you okay with it? I said, hell yes. Go ahead. Do what you got to do, boo. I said, go ahead. So she did that. She won the case, obviously. And he had to come up with and give her that $20,000 that was given to him by his wife. So with that being said, It was hard. It was a struggle for me to get anything or get anywhere with that family, period. But after that happened, it was much harder. And the relationship with my dad, I mean, it was still the same. He was still, not really involved. He wasn't around. He didn't call. He didn't text. He didn't follow up. He didn't show up. He didn't do any of those things. But I don't know if that caused something major in the relationship with his wife to where he really started to stand 10 toes down with everything that my stepmom said, wanted, did in regards to me. There was not a conversation I tried to have with my dad without her chiming in, without her putting him in his place and telling me no. Every time I tried to have a conversation, even if, let's say she was in her bedroom and doing something and he and I happen to be in the living room and I'm trying to talk to him, he would relay that information back to her. She would then come to me and tell me no, or tell me, we can't do that, whatever. So it was after that happened, I feel like he was even more limited with me. He was limited, regardless. Like I said, I've never had alone time with him. I never got to spend one-on-one time with him, really. So he was already limited, and he had to get approval, essentially, approval from his wife to do anything for me, which it was hard. But that was the reality. And I really hate that. I really hate that money played such a big role in the downfall and demise of our relationship, if that makes sense. So my dad is a very charismatic my dad is a very charming person. He is very confident. He's very flashy. He's very materialistic, as is his wife and their kids. And for them, money and material items equal status, equal power, equal love. And even though that's not how I was raised in Nashville, that's not how, my parents spoiled us with memories, vacations, and introducing us to different cultures and stuff they spoiled us in a different way. So the whole materialistic lifestyle, wants, needs, all that type of thing was somewhat foreign to me. But because that's kind of what I've been around when it comes to my paternal family all my life, when I was around them, I tried to lean into that, I guess as much as I could. But that's just not me. I love Chanel. My middle name is Chanel. I want to get Chanel purse one day, but because I love the brand, the integrity of the brand, I love the creative director, I love the history of the brand. It's more than just look at my cute little purse. I really like Chanel. So yeah, there are things material things that I like, obviously everyone has, their stuff that they like, but for them it is major. That's priority. I may not have the money for this, I may not have the flashy car or whatever, but I'm going to do everything I can to show that I have something and that I'm bringing something grandiose and fancy to the table to show that I have some type of status and power and whatever else. And that's just kind of how they were. And because for that family, materialistic things and money equal love heavily, and I didn't get any of that. That's not something I received from them. And if I did, it was something that I had to fight and beg for. And I hate that, because that's something I feel like that's really obvious in their family. I hate that my biological father did not try to provide me with son, like anything, because I begged him to be there. I begged him to show up, and he didn't. So the only way I could feel love from my father, the only way that I could feel like I mattered and that he saw me, is when I received anything from him. And after my father got into real estate, things got a lot better for him, but he has only been in real estate for, let's see, my son's 12 now, so he's been in real estate for about like 6 years, maybe. And then, he's been in real estate for about like 6 years. They got that big house, and they've had that for about, I want to say 8 or 9 years. And obviously I was an adult, late 20s, 30s, early 30s, or mid 20s, late 20s, early 30s, whatever. So, and I had a child. So because of my dynamic with my family in Nashville, and my parents are amazing in Nashville, but because of like the standard and the expectation they set and had for me, I kind of followed that with my paternal family. So as I got older, I definitely stopped asking for things. I asked for loans, so I could pay back. But it kind of sucks that it so happened that they finally started to get to a good financial place. And instead of, like, I guess, showering all their kids with love, it was left up to my dad to do that for me. And I don't know if he didn't feel like I was worth it or good enough, or because he had to pay child support still. I don't know why he didn't, try and do something, even if it wasn't for me. Like, I had a son, so like, you could have, like, you did stuff for, my niece. They did, everything for my niece, like everything for my niece. It's crazy how that did not translate to me or my son. And that's pretty much, my involvement, my life with my biological father. There's not a lot of memories. The bad outweighs the good. There wasn't a lot of, or any support or encouragement or love given my way. I feel like I tried intensely to get my father to see me, to be proud of me, to love me. And it was like, once he kind of started doing better in life, especially in the way that he wanted financially, he started doing better in life, I had no place. Like, it's almost like a how dare you feel like I would do anything for you or show you love in this way when I had to work so hard to get these coins. And it's like, yo, it's not even about that, bro. Like, it's not because I want money. It's not because I want something materialistic. I want you. I want you to see me. I want you to love me. The only way that you have done that and that I see that you do that with my siblings is by giving stuff. Because that's something that you brag about, like, oh, I paid for this, and yeah, this cost this much money, and oh yeah, these diamonds are, 3 carats and all this crap. I don't care about that. I don't care about how much it costs. I don't care about what it is. I care about the fact that you love my siblings enough to do that for them, give that to them, and show them love in that way. But I'm not good enough for that. That's what I see. It's not about the thing. It's not about the item. Does that make sense? Because I don't care about the car. I don't care about any of that. It's about what it represents. It's about the principle of the thing. It's something I was never able to get through to him. Anytime we would get into fights, anytime we'd have art, like anytime anything negative came about, it always came back to money. It always came back to money. And I never knew how to verbalize. It's not that I want the money. I want what the money represents. Don't you get that? Don't you see that? That's all I wanted. I just wanted to be given the love you were able to provide and the love that you provided my siblings. That's all I wanted, man. And the fact that you can give that to me, and then on top of that, you allowed my siblings and your wife to bully me and disrespect me and put me down and make me out to be some money hungry person was disgusting to me. That's diabolical behavior, man. I'm your daughter. I'm the reason you're a father. You became a father on December 9th, 1991 because of me. And I feel like my whole life you've done everything you can to make it clear that I am not a priority for you. And I never have been. Not only am I not a priority, I am not worth your love. I'm not worth your attention. I'm not worth your support. I'm not worth your encouragement. I'm not worth your protection. And that hurts. That hurts. And I hate that I'm crying, but I'm a big crybaby. I get that from my mom. She cries about everything. She can't watch a sad commercial without crying. And I hate that I'm crying, but this is what healing looks like. I need somebody to understand and hear me on that. This is what healing looks like. This is what it is. I have to actively, every time I think about my biological father and his family, I have to actively remind myself to forgive you. I have to actively remind myself to sit in a place of forgiveness for my father. Because if I don't, the bitterness and the anger and the hurt and the pain will take over. And I can't have that, I can't have that for myself, for my family, for my children. I don't want them to see that. I don't want them to feel that. They deserve a mom that is happy, that knows her worth, knows that even though you were a less than positive example of a father for me, that I'm okay and that I'll be okay. And that I won't allow my kids to feel that pain and that hurt that you've given me all my life. Isn't that crazy? It's crazy, right? It's so hard talking about this because even though I'm actively in therapy, actively trying to heal from this man broke my heart. And this man has known me from jump. And you broke my heart and didn't care enough to call or follow up or reach out for the last words you said to me, which were get the F out of here or whatever you said. Um, yeah, I have no words. But I'm happy that I am actively doing what it takes to forgive you. Because it's not, for me, it's not just like, oh, I forgive you and we're good. No, I have to actively make that choice whenever you cross my mind to forgive you for what you've done to me and my family. It's that deep. And for me, for you to do what you did to me all my life, and then the way you didn't show up for me all my life, and then to put me in a position nationally to embarrass me and use me is disgusting. It's deplorable. I'm so thankful for my father here in Nashville because had it not been for him, the man that raised me, the man that loved me and loves me, supports me, encourages me, prays for me, had it not been for him, if you were the only example of a father that I had in my life, I really don't know what type of woman I would be, because you are the saddest excuse for a father in my mind. You are nothing, nothing, nothing compared to my father here in Nashville. And for you to embarrass his little girl, me, for you to use me and treat me that way, it's beyond disturbing. And I am so thankful that God has given me and continues to give me the strength to push forward and move past everything, because I can't, you don't serve me in my life. You never have. And the fact that it's taken me 30 years to see that, yeah, it's crazy, but that's how much I loved my dad. I still love my biological father, but that's how much I was determined to love my dad despite any ugliness, despite any wrongdoings. I justified everything that you did and everything you didn't do for me and to me my whole life, just because you're my dad. And I really wanted, I really, really wanted a relationship with you. But I'm better than that. I'm worth more than the way you treat me. I'm a cool ass person. I'm a successful woman. I'm an amazing mom, an amazing wife and daughter and sister. And I feel so sorry for you that you will not get the chance to know me. I feel so sorry for you that you will not get the chance to see me and my family grow. You've lost that forever, because I'm better than that. I'm better than what you've given me my whole life. And for anyone watching this, I need you to understand that if you feel somewhat similar to how I feel, or you can understand or empathize with me, please understand that you are worth love. You are worth respect. I see you. And I need you to see you. And I need you to do better. And cut off that cancer in your life. Cut off that ugliness in your life. Don't keep showing up and giving somebody the chance to treat you less than who you are, less than what you deserve. When someone shows you who they are, you believe them and you move accordingly. And I promise you, I don't care how hard it'll be. I don't care who the person is in your life that you have to cut off. Better days will come. Happiness will come. Peace will come. Forgiveness will come. Do not block your own blessing. Don't. Because there is a blessing in this type of freedom. There's a blessing in no longer holding that pain in your heart. Acknowledging your part in everything. Acknowledging their part in everything. Acknowledging, hey, I allowed somebody to treat me this way. I allowed my mental health to kind of go downhill a little bit because someone treated me nasty and continued to, and belittled me, disrespected me, whatever it may be. You got to take accountability and see, hey, I keep putting myself in this situation. I keep putting myself in a place for someone to treat me less than, to show me that they don't love me, they don't care for me. And you know what? It's okay. It's okay that my dad may or may not really love me. It's okay that he doesn't respect me. It's okay that he doesn't see me. It's okay that he has never tried to have a relationship with me, because that's who he is, and I need to accept him for that, and I need to move accordingly. And if I don't, it is on me for what happens. So please, please, please hear me when I say, cut it off. Cut it off. You will be so much better for it. You will flourish in that positivity and that freedom and that newfound self-respect for yourself. You will, better days to come, I promise you. And with that, that is the conclusion of chapter 3, my bio dad. So I'm sure that was kind of heavy, especially there at the end. I'm sorry I cried. Oh, daddy didn't love me. No, I'm just kidding. It's not funny, but I try and laugh through things. That's just, a coping mechanism for me. But thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And please, if you know somebody who needs to hear this and see this, please share it with them. Just do it. And hopefully if they hear my message and hopefully if they hear my story, if you know someone who needs to hear this, please share it with them. Please. Because hopefully my story and the words I've said throughout this whole video will give them the strength to do better and move on and move forward with their life. That's all I want. That's my only intention with this series. So again, thank you guys so much for watching, and go hug a loved one today. Go tell somebody that you love and appreciate them. Go tell somebody that, who loves you properly, that you appreciate them for that. So, bye guys. Till next time.